Hello everyone and welcome back. The first act of Path of Exile 2 marks the beginning of a long and grueling adventure. Standing between you and Act 2 is Count Geonor, the Mad Wolf of Ogham. In this video I'll be explaining how to defeat Count Geonor with essential tips, tricks and strategies. So, let's get started. Count Geonor will probably be the most difficult fight you've faced so far, and this one includes multiple phases, 2 life bars and several attacks which can ruin your day if you're not prepared. Before we begin, notice this symbol underneath his health bar. This indicates that the boss has a high resistance to cold damage, so if you can, try and use a different element like fire or frost, or just use physical damage. During phase 1 of a particularly lengthy fight, Geonor takes on his human form, and uses some very basic attacks that are well telegraphed. He's got 2 frontal attacks, the first one being an ice spear which he throws out in a straight line. This one is very easy to dodge. His second frontal attack is a bit more tricky. This time he'll charge forward, dealing damage and knocking you towards the wall if you get caught. Both of these attacks are easily dodged by sidestepping left or right. The closer you are to the boss, the easier it is to avoid. Due to the way that the dodge roll works in Path of Exile 2, if you know you're not going to get hit, it's often quicker and less risky to simply run away rather than dodge, as dodging slows you down significantly, and this makes it harder to recover from a bad situation. After taking a chunk of damage in his first phase, Geonor adds a wide frontal cleave to the end of his charge attack, dealing cold damage and slowing you if you're caught by it. To avoid this attack, it's better to stay away from the boss after he does his initial charge. This is more difficult to avoid if you're a melee character, but have patience and stay out of range. Count Geonor has one final attack that he can use in phase 1, and he'll summon 2 large ice pillars on either side of you. When you see this, stop everything and get out of the trap or you'll be hit for massive damage. It's really easy to escape, but you'll need to anticipate it in advance. If you manage to escape fast enough, you'll have some time to get in some extra hits while the boss finishes his animation. After taking around 75% damage from his first health bar, Count Geonor will transform into a wolf and begin what I like to call phase 1.5. In his wolf form, Geonor has a few more important attacks that need to be avoided. You'll know when he's transformed as he'll stab his sword into the floor, and he'll summon wolf minions which need to be dealt with to avoid being overrun. These minions can also replenish your life and mana flasks, so it's worth dealing with them quickly. While his sword is in the ground, small waves of ice will radiate from the middle, and they'll move outwards. After 3 circles, the boss will turn back into a human. During this time, the boss will have 2 main attacks that you need to look out for. The first is a charge attack, which causes him to spray blood outwards in a straight line. The second attack is a telegraphed large red circle on the ground. This one hits really hard, and you'll need to be ready to move out of the way before the attack begins, or you're likely going to be one-shot. If you're struggling in this phase, it's best to avoid damaging the boss. Just focus on killing the adds and avoiding his attacks until he turns back into a human. After depleting most of his health bar in phase 1, he'll transform into whatever this is, and phase 2 begins. During phase 2, the boss will replenish his health bar, and now he gains a few more attacks which are telegraphed with specific voice lines. The first attack to be aware of is the easiest, a frontal ice spray attack which can cause you to become chilled or frozen. The spread of this attack is tiny, so avoid standing in front of the boss. The second attack can be identified by the boss raising his sword to the sky, and he'll rain down pillars of light onto the floor. These can be easily dodged, but they can get overwhelming if you're panicking. Try to avoid damaging the boss, and just focus on moving and when to stand still. The final attack is a sword stab, which causes small circles of ice to radiate outwards from the boss. After a few seconds, they'll all explode, causing cold damage if you're hit by them. These are easy to avoid, but just like the pillars of light attack, they can be tricky if you're not paying attention. You can also stand in between these circles without taking damage, so there's no need to panic or run away. Between all of these attacks, the boss will continue the red circle slam attack, which will hit you if you're standing in the middle of it. It's best to keep moving at all times, unless you're in the middle of the pillars attack. After some time, the boss will perform his signature move.
Your pulse quickens.
This time the boss will fill the entire arena with a frosty fog which slows and freezes you if you're caught inside. When the boss starts preparing this attack, quickly find and stay inside the small ring in the middle where you'll be safe. When inside this ring, more wolf adds will slowly join the fight, and Count Geonor will rush from side to side, damaging you if you get hit. This small mini phase is essentially a battle of attrition, because you won't be able to damage the boss. You'll simply need to stay alive. You'll know when the boss is about to charge because you'll hear the voice line go off about 2 seconds beforehand. So, once you hear his voice line, start preparing to dodge left or right. Keep killing the adds to avoid being overwhelmed, and after about 3 or 4 attacks, the boss will transition back into phase 2. If you're struggling with this part, it's handy to know that any wolf adds that are still alive after the fog disappears will also die, so if you're struggling to kill them in time, it might just be easier to just wait and survive. Once the boss hits about quarter health in phase 2, he'll transition into his final phase. This time he'll replace his original Pillars of Light attack with a more powerful, faster red version. This is still really easy to dodge if you stop attacking the boss and just focus on dodging, but he can now do this attack during his fog phase as well, which can become really overwhelming. I found that the best way to deal with phase 3 is just to kill the boss as fast as you can, because the longer this phase goes on for, the more chance you've got of making a mistake. If you're struggling with this boss, use cold resistance to your advantage. Given that the boss mostly uses cold attacks, mitigating this with resistance rings or charms can help you stay alive long enough to fight back. This will also increase your resistance to being slowed or frozen. So, now you know how to defeat Count Geonor with ease. If you like this video, drop me a like or sub to the channel, or leave me a comment letting me know how you got on with this difficult boss. And, as always, have a great day.